I was just thinking, 2019 has been quite a year. I've had a lot of great experiences, but one of the top experiences that I've ever had in my life was going on a trip with my good friend, Robert Millett. Bob and I went to Graceland in Memphis. Now, why would Bob Millett and I go to Graceland? Well, a couple years ago, I'm literally in Thailand and I meet a guy who has recently bought the brand that is Elvis Presley, which includes the Graceland Mansion. After having this amazing conversation with him at a hotel, he offers me some free ultimate VIP passes whenever I'm in Memphis. I'm thinking, this is way cool. I get back to Utah, I tell Bob Millett all about it. Why would Bob care? Because he loves Elvis Presley. There's a famous Millett story that his father, who was a DJ in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he grew up, and he once hired in 1954 a young rock and roll star that was not yet famous to do a local concert there in Baton Rouge, and he lost money on the deal. Who was the artist? None other than Elvis Presley. So the Milletts always like to say, we lost money on Elvis Presley. But Bob knew everything about Elvis Presley. As long as I've known Bob Millett, I've known about his love of all things Elvis. He knows when Elvis was filming this movie or recording this song. He can see a picture of Elvis and say that was in the early 60s, that was in the late 60s, early 70s. He knows everything about Elvis. So I tell Bob about meeting this guy that owns the Elvis Presley brand, and I say, Bob, if I ever go to Memphis, I'm taking you with me. We're gonna have a great trip. So that's what we did this year. And we did it during Elvis Week, the week of August 16th, which is the death anniversary of Elvis Presley. And this was a significant year because it was the 42 year, meaning that Elvis lived to be 42, but he died 42 years ago. So it was a big deal. And so we went to the vigil, we went up to the graveside, we went into the mansion, we went through all the museums, we saw all the cars, all the jumpsuits. We laughed, we talked, we ate Memphis barbecue together. We had a great time. We even went up to Nashville and went to the Grand Ole Opry. It was just an incredible 4-day trip. One of the highlights of 2019 for me. And as I look back over the fact that because I got to know Bob Millett in 1997 and had this amazing dialogue with him and so many other people at BYU and general authorities of the LDS Church, my neighbors, just friends, politicians, people in the media here in Utah, I've had the privilege of making a lot of cool friends in this thing called dialogue. And in particular, I have to admit that it is one of the great blessings to say that Robert Millett has become one of my very, very best friends in this life. And the fact that Bob and I can share such incredible experiences like we did in Memphis this year, that's an amazing gift in my life. So there's a guy named Dr. John Stackhouse, formerly of Regent College, who wrote in his book called Humble Apologetics that sometimes we're so determined to win the argument that we lose the relationship in the process. Man, that's a great statement. That really speaks to this issue of friendship, I think. Sometimes we evangelicals are so determined to be right, to win the verbal joust, to come off as more superior, more informed, correct about something, that we don't show that we really care about people. And that's a serious issue. The old adage is true that people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We have to really think about the fact that people matter, people are important, and the way we listen, the way we talk, the way we interact with them is very critical for them to understand that we care about them, that we want to be kind to them, that we respect them. And I just think we really have to work on that. And I think Jesus is a phenomenal example of someone who has friendships with people he's not supposed to have friendships with. Take Matthew, for example. He's a tax collector. Nobody wants to be Matthew's friend because he's a jerk. He takes bribes and he's corrupt. Jesus makes him a friend and turns him into a disciple. Then there's Zacchaeus. He's that wee little man up in the sycamore tree. And again, nobody likes someone like Zacchaeus either. Nobody wants to be his friend. He's turned on his own people. What does Jesus do? He goes to his house and eats dinner with them. And we see the transformation that takes place in his life when he says, I'm going to return all the money I've ever taken from people twofold. Think about the woman at the well who's a Samaritan and has all kinds of personal baggage. And Jesus establishes a friendship with her by using common ground and saying, hey lady, would you mind giving me a drink of water? I'm really thirsty. And she's shocked that a man would be talking to her, knowing who she is, a scandalous woman, that Jesus values her, recognizes her, esteems her. It's a beautiful concept. The idea that we would honor people and build relationship and authentically desire to become their friend as we talk to them about spiritual things, as we talk to them about eternal truth, that makes all the difference in the world. And it is the gift of honest, bridge-building dialogue. So this whole idea or issue of caring about people and having a relationship with them. Next door to my house, I have a very traditional Muslim family. The father's name is Abbas, and we've lived here for almost 4 years. And it's been my desire to build a friendship with Abbas and get to know him. I've had the privilege of talking with him, but it's usually kind of a challenge because I have to see him out from my front yard in his front yard and wave to him and say, hello, Abbas, and then we have a few minutes of talking, but he doesn't usually initiate with me. I have to usually initiate with him. My wife has gotten to know his wife. It would be very inappropriate for me as a man to talk to his wife as a traditional Muslim family, but we've worked really hard to just be a friend. I've had the opportunity of talking to him a little bit about my Christian faith. He knows I'm a pastor. I even shared a book with him that was written in Arabic. And it requires me being willing to walk across my lawn to visit him in his driveway or in his lawn. And he doesn't often return the favor, but that's okay. Because my hope is that he'll just understand that I care about him, that I want to be his friend, and that maybe as a result of that someday we'll get to be able to talk about my biggest friend, my greatest friend. His name is Jesus.